Well, good evening and welcome to the March 24th edition of Sports on Sunset. I'm James Jericho off in the corner, and you can see my good friend Jeremy Paul. We are about to do a first, a rare occasion of dramatic sports interpretations. And here we go. Wow, this is so exciting. Hi, I'm Tim Tebow. You're Santonio Holmes. May I call you Santonio?
No, you may not.
Okay. Wow, the Big Apple. This is great. You know, I've been trying to find the coach. Do you know where I can meet him so I can talk to him about the upcoming season?
He's off in the corner with his wife's feet in his mouth.
Ew. That's not something they taught us in Bible study. Well, you know what? This is still great. I can't wait to be the quarterback of the New York Jets because I think I can beat Mark Sanchez. Okay? So I hear you're this great wide receiver, and I would love to practice some down and outs with you to get a good idea of the offense. But before we do, I want you to know that I would like to give you my testimony. Would you like to hear about the healing power of Jesus?
Well, Jesus still the fact that you don't know we play in Jersey and not New York. Also, you're not a quarterback. And thirdly, I'm trying to eat pizza because I know I'm not getting the ball more than twice this year, non-quarterback.
But I let Florida
go to hell.
But John Elway said I could have played.
John Elway is a cunt. We need Mark Sanchez to be better.
And that is why the Tim Tebow trade is a really horrible idea. And cut! Okay, guys, we could have done the obvious and gone off and debated whether or not the whole Tebow-Manning thing was a good idea, but...
Which I predicted.
Not exactly, but eat me. Instead, for our debate this week, we're going to try something off the beaten path. We're not going to talk sports. We're going to talk sports entertainment. Because everybody else is talking about Tebow and Manning. Wrestlemania is next week.
Woo!
Yeah, and look, we're both fans, and it's one of those things where I have to reluctantly admit that I am a fan. I don't want to be a fake about this. But last week, John Cena got into an auto wreck. He's still headlining the main event.
Really?
Yeah. Now, here's where the thing really got off the track, got off for me. Got off the pipe for me. We're not going to debate whether or not wrestling is real. We're not going to try and argue who's going to win because clearly we don't know. What I will tell you is that the timing of the wreck was so curious that it actually made some wrestling fans wonder if it was part of the story. Cena's wrestling The Rock, and and of course, unlike actual real sports, wrestlers get hurt. And some of them get badly hurt, and they meet untimely ends, and it's purely for our own twisted entertainment. You don't win, unlike in real sports, on your own merit. You win solely for the sake of the story. So the questions that I want to have for you is, why in their right minds would athletic people put themselves up to get hurt on purpose for not winning something that's real?
It's the glory. Plain and simple. Like, you got people that, like Brock Lesnar or there's another cat, I can't remember his name for some reason.
Kurt Angle?
No, well, Kurt Angle, and another, but it's a black dude, doesn't matter. But you have people that are former wrestlers, like collegiate wrestlers, who after college and after the Olympics and those sorts of things have nowhere else to apply the trade.
So, but with that said, I mean, I will grant you that a true classic amateur wrestler doesn't really have a whole lot of options. I mean, Kurt Angle in the 1996 Olympic Games won the gold medal in Atlanta broke his neck in the process, and that was actually, unfortunately, part of the basis of his character when he went to the WWE. Because they actually made him a bad guy, and he would brag about how he won with a broken neck to get the crowd to turn against him. He was a bona fide American hero, Olympic hero in that regard.
And people cheered against him.
Right, yeah, but the thing is...
It'd be like Ali when he won the gold. And going to like, hey, yeah, I want to go better, and everybody just booing him because he won the gold.
Well, the point is that I was going to get at is that if you look at pro wrestling, it's a very unfortunate thing. A number of the guys that we celebrated as teenagers, young adults, and so on, have a number of them have met really ugly ends. Randy Savage, the lovely Elizabeth, his valet, 5 of the Von Erichs, there were 5 of them that were in wrestling, and only one of them lived to the age of 35.
Wow.
Chris Benoit.
He did that to himself.
Yeah, but that's the point. Do these people wind up doing it to themselves? I mean, you hear about some professional football players who actually were attaining this, the Lombardi Trophy and whatnot, and they met some untimely ends, but they didn't meet it until their 60s or 50s.
Yeah.
These guys are losing their lives in their mid 30s and 40s, and I haven't even mentioned Eddie Guerrero yet.
Yeah.
So what is it that's different about pro wrestlers than actual professional athletes?
Pro wrestlers are more like comedians than anything else. It's the road life. They're always on the road. They spend up to 320 days on the road a year. Mm-hmm. And you're in different towns, and you're selling the image of a bad guy. So I remember there's stories about, there's a certain wrestler who shares the same last name as a certain comic, who, while in Peoria, was high on cocaine.
And by the way, I am rooting for my cousin Chris in Wrestlemania.
But somebody was offered cocaine, and was high on cocaine while in a strip club with another wrestler, friend of his. Mm-hmm. But this cocaine is huge in the business, and people get hooked on drugs and barbiturates, other painkillers. It's the road life.
Here's the thing, if you're going to put it all on the road, that may very well be a possibility. Because, I mean, it's amazing how many stand-up comics that I know who were touring the country, they saw the movie The Wrestler, and it scared the hell out of them because they saw themselves in that movie. Not that you want to compare everything to a piece of drama. I've been kicking around this subject all week long. Why should I support something where the ends are just so utterly brutal for a lot of these real people? Yeah. And because I don't want to be the guy that says there ought to be a law, unless there really ought to be a law. And I was talking with a mutual friend of ours, Chris Dunham, who dropped a word that actually finally resonated. Pornography. Now, I'm not saying wrestling is hardcore pornography, but wrestling to me, when you think about it, may be sports equivalent to softcore pornography. Like porno, the actors make the conscious decision to hurt themselves for us. I mean, let's be honest, some of that freaky stuff in porno. Like porno, wrestlers want to go mainstream, but very few of them can.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is both porno stars and wrestlers there's a lengthy list of shady, painful, early deaths. So to me, I think there is something to be said for what you're talking about with the Schadenfreude element, where you're talking about people who are athletes, or in some cases very pretty women, who make the conscious decision that because they've got to hold on to their glory for some reason, and they're willing to do anything to keep it. The problem is that I cannot argue with a straight face that any of this should be unlawful. I'm a very big protector of the First Amendment. I'm a champion of it, frankly. And the WWE and frankly even pornographers they satisfy to the best of their abilities every federal law that they can. I mean, even there's PSAs at the beginning of both of that. There's also Raw, which is the WWE flagship show, is on at 9, which is in theory after kids should be asleep.
Safe harbor.
But with that said, what I think I can argue is that the WWE is actually inappropriate for children to the extent that you should treat WWE like the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. You don't hand that to a 5 or a 6-year-old.
You gotta get the kids ingratiated into the swimsuit issue, man.
Like, there's an age. Look, the point I'm getting at is the point I'm getting at is not that you outlaw it and not that you ban it or create another law. It's your responsibility to think a second time before you buy the pay-per-view for your kid. And I would definitely say that you don't want to buy the toys for the kids. Yeah, because if you think about it, look, if we're 12, 13, 14, and that's when we really start paying attention to wrestling, that might be one thing. But to have 6 or 7-year-olds say, I want to be like Chris Benoit, and then Benoit does something like that, you got a lot of explaining to do there. So that's where you take the whole thing about it. Because if it's sports equivalents of softcore pornography, I think that actually is where you draw the line. Not a legal line, not a hard line, but a line where you have to sit there and make a judgment as a parent.
Huh? Can't argue with you there.
Well, I'm glad, because it's your time to say what's on your mind, brother. Go for it.
What's on my mind? My Detroit Pistons, I'm a Pistons fan. My Detroit Pistons won the championship back in 2004, beating the Los Angeles Lakers 4-1. Since then, Joe Dumars has done his best to run the team into the ground, and he has succeeded. Currently, I used to pride myself on knowing each and every last one of the players on every team that is currently playing, every player that's on the team. This year, I can name maybe 3. Why? Because I don't know who the fuck Monroe is. Who the fuck is this Monroe dude? You know, who's Jericho? Who are the white dudes on Detroit Pistons? I don't know the white guys. All I know is Big Gordon. Is the dude with the fucking cancer head, is he still playing? Is Charlie Villanueva? I know that guy. And Tayshaun Prince. Let Tayshaun Prince go free, please. Let him leave the Pistons. Somebody fire Dumars. What I'm getting at is, please, Dumars, you need to resign or hire Isaiah away from whatever fucking college he's at and let him right the ship, because you have
Isaiah Thomas.
Yes, Isaiah Thomas. Shut your mouth. Look, here's the thing. Isaiah Thomas is not to blame for New York. As you plainly see.
Or what about the Toronto Raptors? Or what about the Continental Basketball Association?
The CBA was folding anyway. That's why you got it at such a low price. $10 million for what, 12 teams?
On behalf of Laker fans everywhere, I will drop to my knees and pray that Isaiah Thomas takes over the freaking Detroit Pistons.
You are out of your mind. You should drop to your knees and pray that Mike Brown resigns.
You are out of your mind.
Sure I am.
Yeah.
But here's how right I am. Isaiah's coaching record is still better than Magic Johnson's.
I never said Magic could coach. Fuck you.
That's the hero, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't, just because you can do doesn't mean you can teach it. Folks, I want to talk about Major League Baseball. Last week, the San Diego Padres, their future was put in doubt when potential owner Jeff Morad resigned as CEO. The writing was on the wall. The Major League Baseball didn't want him to own the team, or they thought they couldn't. And I enjoy smashing San Diego sports fans, but not this time. The reason is because this speaks to a larger issue. And that is the utter chaos that a massive chunk of Major League Baseball has become under the watch of Commissioner Bud Selig. I am not a fan of this guy at all. Now, because Major League Baseball will tell you about how the game has grown under Selig since he took over first as interim commissioner in '92 and then real commissioner in 1988. And they'll talk about the 4 teams that they've added to in Florida, Colorado, and Arizona. I can top that. I can top that with 5 teams that are either in or have barely escaped absolute financial chaos under his slipshod management of the game. The Chicago Cubs, bankruptcy. The Texas Rangers, bankruptcy. The Los Angeles Dodgers, bankruptcy. The New York Mets, possibly in bankruptcy. And now the San Diego Padres with no owners whatsoever. Now, in business, when a business is in trouble, financial leaders call it a lack of an ability to remain a going concern. That means they don't know if you can make payroll or pay the bills. If as many as 5 Major League Baseball teams are having issues that relate to them being a going concern, you cannot blame that on the Red Sox. You can't blame that on the Yankees. You can only blame that on the person who allowed these people to own the teams. It was Bud Selig who let these foxes into the henhouse. It was Bud Selig who tried to make Jeff Morad the owner of the Padres. It was Bud Selig who allowed Frank McCourt ownership of one of their flagship franchises, the Los Angeles Dodgers. You can't, the very definition of a commissioner of sports is that this guy is to protect the integrity of the game, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, or hockey.
Piece of Dennis Stern.
Yeah, and Bud Selig clearly has jeopardized the integrity of the game by having people who don't know how to run their teams or who don't have the capability to run these teams take over some of the flagship franchises in Major League Baseball. Folks, I wish I had jokes for that, but